Welcome back to A Timey Wimey Pod, where each week we dive into the timey-wimey world of Doctor Who. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Hailee.
And this week we are discussing Series 7, Episode 1, Asylum of the Daleks. Hailee, how are you?
I am so beyond ready to get into this episode. You guys don't even know. I cannot wait to dive into it all. Today's been kind of like a weird feeling day for me, so I'm very happy to be in like this space talking about Doctor Who. It's a nice distraction from life. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to having this discussion since we came back from our hiatus. I was like, I can't wait to do Asylum, and here we are. I know we say this every single episode, but it's actually so crazy that we are here in Series 7. That feels wrong, doesn't feel real. Yeah, don't like it. Are you ready for some fantastic facts?
I am, and I'm hopeful that Series 7 will have some more fantastic facts than Series 6. I feel like Series 6 was very dry.
I hope so. I would say these are mid-level fantastic. So hopefully there's some good things to come. You gotta hope. But this episode aired September 1st, 2012. It's weird to think that must have felt like a really long hiatus at the time, all the way from Christmas 2011 to September 1st, 2012.
Yeah, they had it good though, because they had Who
they
to look
did.
forward to.
They had, but then it was also only like half a season and
That
then a
is,
break.
yeah, but at least they had more episodes coming.
At least they
that
had
knew
more
about.
episodes. And they probably knew about the 50th anniversary by this time. At least that it was going to be a thing.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Let us know if you were around in 2012 what the vibes were like. But this episode was written by Stephen Moffat and directed by Nick Huron, who just did The Girl Who Waited and The God Complex last series. So, an original part of the tension between Amy and Rory was over Rory growing a beard and Amy not liking it. That was gonna be like a little side piece of their tension. And that was because Arthur Darvill just happened to have a beard at the time because he was in a play.
That's funny.
But then they ended up scrapping that because they were filming this at the same time as Angels Take Manhattan. So they didn't want him to have a beard during that.
Wait, I didn't know they were filming at the same time.
I did not know either. I don't know if it was like fully at the same time because
Or just like in this same block.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe like some things were I don't know. This is just what TARDIS Wikipedia told me. I don't know. So that was scrapped, thankfully, because that sounds ridiculous.
It does. It's giving Amy's Choice ponytail.
Also, Arthur Delville looks good with a beard. I don't know what beard they were picturing, but when I think of him with a beard, I think of his Legends of Tomorrow beard. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Okay, this one is actually so funny to me. The BBC had to put out a call for Dalek props. They had to ask the world, like, "Hey, fans of the show, if you have any old Dalek props, can we borrow them because we need them for this episode because we don't have enough."
So in other words, they were broke and they needed the help of the fans to bridge the gap.
They did. So as a result, there's a lot of classic Who Daleks, like Daleks that were actually in classic Who episodes. There's some Doomsday Daleks in here from all over. So I think that's fun.
That's really fun. That's so funny, actually.
I know. Do you remember? This just popped into my head. Do you remember there was that Tumblr post about how like there were Daleks found in a river or a pond or like some body of water, and they were just like abandoned by the BBC back in the day? No? Okay.
I don't remember that, but I completely believe that because that sounds like something that would have happened.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true. I just vaguely remember that Tumblr post back in the day. But
That's funny.
yeah. Oswin, who we meet in this episode, was originally going to be an Elvis girly. She was going to be an Elvis fan, and it was going to be his songs that played in the episode. And the doctor would have nicknamed her Blue Suede Shoes. But I'm sure you can guess why that didn't happen. Obviously, they couldn't get the rights to Elvis songs. So
Wait, I'm like trying to picture it. I don't know if I can kind of picture it, but also kind of not. I feel like it would have been, I don't know, a big distraction in this episode.
I think it would have been fun. I think the nickname would have been kind of dumb, but I think the Elvis of it all would be fun. And it would be fun if then, like, later in the series, they had an episode where they met Elvis, and then it was like, ooh, connections, but also not really.
No, that actually would be really funny.
Where to begin? We're going to begin at the beginning, but there's just so much to talk about with this episode.
There is, but first let's talk about like our general thoughts about this episode.
Oh yes, I forget we do general thoughts. Thank you.
No, I completely forgot until just now. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, good. Because, dare I say, this is one of the top Dalek episodes. Dare I say, this is cinema.
Yes!
Thank you. Because this episode has no business being this incredible. There is so much to this episode, a lot of things we learn in this episode, and I really feel, obviously it's a new series, so of course things are going to feel different, but the tone of the show feels like it's shifted. And I read on Reddit a comment that I feel really put it perfectly. They said something along the lines of like, it feels like Amy is now equal to the doctor, where before he was her imaginary friend, and then he was like the guy who was going to like save her, and now she very much sees him for what it is, and it feels like they've all grown up in a sense over the past couple of seasons.
I completely agree. They have that great settled in companion feeling that you only get from companions like Amy and a companion we may talk about later this episode, who have been there for a while, who have, seen the doctor through a lot. I love that feeling, and that's rare. It's rare these days. But yes, I love this episode. It is a certified banger in my books. I think it's one of the best Dalek stories in Moffat's run, I dare say. It makes the Daleks interesting again after a little bit of them being not that interesting. I love the concept of this episode. I love the twists and turns. I love the lore and the setup for things to come. It looks amazing. My first note is, okay, budget, because the budget is budgeting. Long gone are the days in Dalek when they could only use the one Dalek prop because that's all the BBC could afford to do. We have a lot going on here, and I like this episode. I will always defend it. Great series opener, great Dalek story, fun for the whole family.
Completely agree. I also just want to make a note and say that the way this episode is shot, like visually, it looks so good. The camera works so good. The direction is also really, really wonderfully done as well.
Yes, absolutely. So we are on Skaro for the first time ever in New Who. We're on Skaro.
We are on Skaro, and there's this lady Darla that pops up with the hood, and she somehow got a message to the doctor to help save her daughter Hannah, who is in a Dalek prison camp. And meanwhile, 11, he's a little moody about this. He's like, girl, why are you calling me up? Why do you want me to help you? I really wish people would stop asking me to help.
He's like, I'm supposed to be dead. Like, how'd you even find me? Also, can we talk about the shot of the giant Dalek monument?
Yeah.
So cool.
So cool. I love it. And I love that they're inside of it. And of course, plot twist, not super shocking. Darla is actually a Dalek. Well, I mean, the first time I watched this, I was like, oh my gosh, because I didn't know a Dalek could be disguised as a human. or be a Dalek puppet is what they call these
Yeah.
humans in this
It's
episode.
not like this isn't Daleks in Manhattan or
No.
Evolution of the Daleks. This is something very different. These are
Yeah.
like humans that the Daleks have taken over to do their bidding, to be their puppets essentially. And I really like this concept. I like seeing the eye stalk come out of her, the
Hmm.
everything kind of take over. I always find this really interesting. I think it's a fun little bit. I really like the moment later on with her and the doctor. He's like, "You had a daughter. Like, do you know who you are before they turned you into this?" And she's like, "I read my file." Like, she does know
Yeah.
everything. She just doesn't have the emotions or humanity left in her to care. I think it's so interesting, such a great concept.
I completely agree with you. And all of this was a trap to acquire the Doctor. The shot of all the Dalek battleships and just hearing the Doctor is acquired goes crazy. But what goes even crazier is the next shot we see is Amelia Pond in the most 2012 photo shoot ever with the hate and love written on her knuckles. You had to be there. That
You
was
had to
the
be there.
thing.
So true. It really was. And I had to stand up and cheer because they heard us crying, they heard us complaining about the series 6 outfits. So finally they gave us two, I don't want to say good looks because they are very 2012, but it's so much better than what we were getting. So it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It has some soul
Fantastic.
in it.
Yes. I love her moody eyeliner and makeup.
Yeah.
So fun.
Love her hair too. I love all the layers. It looks really good.
Yeah, there's that one shot of her with like the super curly hair. That's fun.
She's giving River Song's mother.
She is. They knew what they were doing. Don't you
Yeah.
wish, I was gonna save this for a few episodes down the line, but don't you wish River Song was in like every single 7A episode?
Yes, because that would fit. That would fit. This
It
is
would
like the one
fit.
season that would really make sense and not like be too much.
It could have totally worked. Like they're traveling together as a family. Like the dynamics could have been so interesting, and yet we were robbed
We were so robbed.
as usual.
Yeah. Okay, Rebecca. Then the next thing we
Okay.
see is Rory Williams pop up and he's holding divorce papers. Pray tell me your initial reaction when you watched this.
He thinks they are already divorced, and we learn they're technically not. Got to get those final signatures, but they've gone so far in the process that she thinks she doesn't have a husband, that she is capital D divorced. It's just crazy to take it that far. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to bring divorce papers into it. They could have been separated and everything have the same effect. The conflict still be interesting. There's still tension. The doctor still needs to fix it without, you know, being so dramatic and having them be fully divorced. They could have just been separated.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe what they could have done instead is the reason he was there was to talk about just now like starting the divorce process with the divorce papers opposed to it being like the end of the process and finalizing it all.
Mm-hmm.
So I can agree with you on that, but it's also been many years,
It has.
which I feel like at some point before Angels Take Manhattan, I need to like go through a fine tooth comb between Doctor the Widow and the Wardrobe and Angels Take Manhattan to figure out exactly how many years it's been, because it's really confusing.
We will get some hints and clues in episodes to come before Angels Take Manhattan, but
Yeah.
it is very timey-wimey. Like, it might not even be, it's probably not 2012 on Earth, which is funny to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what do you think of just like overall without getting too much into the scene later that they have talking about why this has happened? What do you think about this conflict between Amy and Rory and having this start off the series?
How to say this without talking in detail about everything I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about with this? I like that there's conflict. I like that finally we're seeing issues pop up and arise between them after all they've undergone. Amy has had a very traumatic life. Like, girls, family was racist and they came back, and she had a neglectful aunt she lived with, but then, like, never mind, actually, she lived with her parents her whole life, even though she kind of doesn't remember it, kind of does. And then the whole thing with River, and then the whole thing with being kidnapped and River being kidnapped, and just like traveling with a doctor in general, and being fresh in a marriage, even with like a man you've known for most of your life. The therapy bill, the therapy bill that would inflict. Of course, there's going to be conflict, and I do wish there would have been maybe a little bit more that we saw leading up to it, or it being a little bit more, just having just a little bit more. But at the same time, I like that it's not continuously dragging on.
I completely agree. I like that the issues are contained to this episode. We get it over with. It doesn't carry forward. I do wish there was a little bit more. And we meant to bring this up earlier, but yes, we know the
Mhm.
pond life, the minisode does exist. Love the pond life. But even in that, like, Amy and Rory are hunky dory, everything's good. There's an ood in the loo.
Yeah.
And then it ends with, we don't even hear the conversation. We just see Rory storming out with a duffel bag or something.
Yeah, I wish we would have just kind of seen more of their arguments or conflict, or like we saw the resentment building up. We saw the frustration building up between
Mm-hmm.
them. Because yes, we get reasoning from Amy later on in this episode, and we'll go way more into that. But I do think I wouldn't be surprised if there was also other things that were just like kind of piled on to that core issue.
Or even just seeing them, struggle to come to terms with like the grief of losing their baby, but their baby also being okay and also being their best friend, and
Yeah.
like the river song of it all, like that would put a huge toll on you. And when couples lose a child, that's can be something very hard for them to get through. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of couples divorce after, a tragic loss of their child. So it would make sense to see them struggle to deal with that in different ways. Like, yes, River's here. We love River, but also this is kind of weird. And I think it would
Yeah,
make a lot of sense to see them go through that. I think Rory especially would have a hard time, you know, getting used to all that.
I completely agree.
Okay, where are we? Oh, I do love the Daleks bringing them all together. That they know the Doctor
Yeah.
has to have their companions, so it's so funny to think they like took over Amy's makeup artist. They made her a puppet, and somehow guessed Rory's bus driver correctly. That's fun.
Really fun. The Daleks are just getting the band back together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love the moment where Rory's like, "So, out of 10, like, how much trouble are we in?" And then the Doctor comes in, right behind the Dalek, and he's like, "Out of 10, Mr. Pond, 11."
I
Hey.
love that moment so much. I don't care how cheesy that line is. I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out we're with the Daleks, the Parliament. of the Daleks. Insane visual, insane concept, and even more insane than that, the Daleks have called 11 Amy and Rory up so that they can save the Daleks, which is just so funny because I thought earlier, I was like, imagine telling that to Nine. Nine would blow that place up immediately. He wouldn't even stop.
No. Oh yeah, he's gonna yell at them. He's not gonna go over as well with the Ninth Doctor or even the 10th Doctor for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on what moment in 10's like tenure.
If it's like right after Doomsday 10, whole planet is blowing up.
Not even stopping for a second. Walking away.
Dalek genocide 2.0 right now.
Yeah. Oh, wait, real quick. We got a new TARDIS intro sequence for this season,
I think
don't we?
It comes out right after they ask for help. Because I have that in there. Okay, what do you think of this intro sequence? I hate it.
Really? It's not a fave of mine, I'll say that.
It's just, they ruined the old one, and they just put a bunch of Instagram filters on it, and the text, like the Doctor Who logo text, looks so weird. I don't like it. Not a fan. I don't like the orange and the green. Give me back the classic Series 5 Vortex Tunnel. This looks bad and wrong, and I hate it.
The orange at the end is very bright.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like I said, it's not my favorite. Yeah.
And then after the title sequence, ladies and gentlemen, Jenna Coleman has entered the chat.
I cannot believe we are talking about the Jenna Coleman of it all. Y'all don't even understand. We love this. We love her so much.
Love her down bad. Genuinely one of my favorite actresses. She is so talented. She has that Alex Kingston quality of being able to take over the screen. Like, she shines on camera. She really does. She brings just such a magical energy with her to the screen with in whatever scene she's in. There's so many good moments to come. Oh my gosh, she's so good. I'm love her in Doctor Who. Of course, that's how we found her. But also, Hailee and I, we just watched Victoria for the first time earlier this year. She's so good in that.
Absolutely incredible in Victoria. And I know we brought it up in The Doctor's Wife because I know Uncle was in Victoria, the actor who played him.
Yeah.
But I feel like now that we're here, we can officially, for real, add Victoria to our Venn diagram of shows, which is just a circle that different Doctor Who actors have been in, because there's overlap. There's a decent overlap with Victoria, actually.
There really is. She's also in this great mini series a couple years back, shortly after she did Doctor Who, called The Cry, and I watched it. Gosh, oh my gosh, I guess that was like about 10 years ago. Wow. I watched it back in the day, and I still think about it all the time just because the story was absolutely insane, and Jenna Coleman was absolutely insane. So good. She is such an incredible actress, and also she is a gorgeous woman. Like, I look at her and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're genuinely one of the most gorgeous women alive. It's actually insane.
It's actually quite rude because she just takes over your screen because she's so beautiful and she's so charismatic, and like you said, she just has this magical energy that just like takes over whatever role she's in. She takes over the screen. And I know Stephen Moffat is working on a new show and she's in it, and I am really interested and intrigued to find out more about the show and watch it because I just know she's gonna eat in that.
I agree. We got to go watch more Jenna Coleman shows now. Drop your favorite Jenna Coleman projects.
Yes, but can we talk about Oswin? Because I have to say, Oswin is such a charming, memorable side character, and obviously she's I would say she's more memorable than a lot of other side characters for future reasons.
Yeah.
Which you all probably know. But like also aside from that, let's take that all away. She still is very memorable.
Oh, I completely agree. I love Oswin. We're not going to get too much into the who Jenna Coleman plays in the future, just for spoilers' sake and for to keep the
Yeah.
discussion focused on this episode. Because if we let ourselves go there, we may never stop talking. So just focusing on Oswin, I agree. I think she's such a fascinating character. I'm trying not to talk about the ending of this episode quite yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's very memorable to me. I would love a companion like this, you know, someone from the future, someone very tech smart from
Mm-hmm.
the future. Like that would be so interesting. Like
Yeah.
this poor girl, she went out on Starship Alaska to see the stars and crashed her first time out.
Into the Dalek Asylum of all places. Like, can you imagine? You're like, oh, I'm crashing. Oh, okay, we landed on a planet. Oh, Daleks? Like, I.
Literally the worst place you could crash.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like trying to think of other Doctor Who planets that are like not nice that I would rather go to.
Oh man, what are other planets we even see?
I
um Midnight, like I would rather go to Midnight than this.
Oh yeah. I would 100% rather go to midnight during the episode midnight or midnight circa the well time
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. I feel like Midnight, circa Midnight, as long as you're not on that bus, you're good. Circa the well, different story.
Different story, but I would still choose that
Mm-hmm.
over Dalek Asylum because that's
Yes.
just insane.
Also, we didn't really talk about it, but I do love the concept of this episode in general. The concept
Yeah.
of the Asylum of the Daleks, just this planet where they put all their insane Daleks in, all the Daleks that are basically like war veterans. It sounds weird to give them that, but like, how else are you supposed to phrase it? Um,
Yeah.
I think it's very fascinating, and something that is really interesting is how the doctor's like, I never understood that, like, why don't you just kill them? And they say it would be, we couldn't kill such divine hatred, like that would be wrong to us.
And I love how he says, I thought you'd run out of ways to make me sick, but hello again. And just the way Matt Smith says this line, you just feel like his own hatred for the Daleks, like coming through. And it really reminds us that, like, yeah, the Daleks are like okay with the Doctor right now, but like at their core still, they are awful. Like, hatred is their motivating factor, and they don't care who they hurt and what they do and what they destroy. And there's different moments throughout this episode where I'm really like, the Daleks are just rage baiting 11 this entire episode with the different things they say.
You're not wrong. I love, right after that they say, perhaps that is why we've never been able to kill you.
Mm,
Like, what a crazy line. It's like they hate him so much
mm-hmm.
that they love him so they can't kill him, you know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah.
love the hate, they love the hate that he has for them. Toxic toxic enemies, I don't know what to call it, but so fascinating. And this is a good Dalek story. Like, how can you not like this episode? How can you not like it for the Dalek story of it all? Because it's interesting. It's so much better than freaking Victory of the Daleks, or Evolution of the Daleks in Manhattan, whatever that two-parter is called.
Yeah, here's what I really like and appreciate about this episode is that the Asylum of the Daleks, like the Asylum part, that's a whole new avenue, a whole new thing that's been
Yes.
dumped into the Dalek lore that we've never explored before. And it's actually intriguing because there is a human element added to it because of Spaceship Alaska crashing on this asylum. So it's not just like solely Daleks. But the way it's like woven and dealt with throughout this entire episode is really like making you think and really remember just everything about the Daleks. It keeps your attention because there's so much going on. You have Oswin, you have the Pawns, you have 11, you have the Daleks, you have these Daleks who are like all messed up is not the right word, but like they're missing parts or they're malfunctioning or they're like criminal. I was about to say criminally insane. All the Daleks are criminally insane, but you guys
Yeah.
know what I mean. Like even more insane than the average Dalek. And it's so much more of an attention grabbing subject and concept than randomly creating these mutant Daleks with pigs being involved and a really long drawn out two-parter mixing like Tallulah in there. Like it's contained into this episode. It doesn't drag on, and I think that's the weak point of some Dalek episodes, unfortunately, is that it just drags on for the sake that they're Daleks, they're the number one enemy of the Doctor, they're so iconic, therefore we must like make sure that we drag this on for a while. I don't think that has to be the case every time.
No, I completely agree. I think this episode is a great example of how to do a self-contained Dalek story. It doesn't have to be a huge, grand Russell T Davies era-esque finale. It can just be a self-contained story and still be really interesting and give us a lot of interesting Dalek lore. One moment I like before the whole back and forth with the Doctor and the Daleks is when Amy is watching I wrote down love Amy clocking the Doctor, clocking them, because you can see how he's noticing the distance between Amy and Rory and how he's thinking, what am I going to do about it? So I think that's really fun. I love seeing, we already said this, but I love seeing how settled their friendship is, how well they know each other. Like, he knows them so well that he knows something's wrong with their dynamic, and Amy knows him so well that she can tell that he knows that something's wrong.
I love that moment too, and I love when they're standing around the teleport about to be dropped down to the asylum and they're all asking questions. He was like, is it armed? And Rory asks the question, what color? And you know what? That's a valid question, okay? I know it's a stupid question, but it's a valid question.
I don't know if it is, but I love Rory because that's so real. He just ran out of questions. He needed something to say.
He's only seen one color of Dalek before.
Well, no, because I guess he saw the paradigm at Stonehenge. Because they were there.
Did he though? Because I'm just thinking of the Dalek in the museum that River ended up killing.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It is interesting. It's nice to see Rory have a bit more. Saying interaction with the Daleks feels weird, but it is nice to see Rory in a Dalek story because obviously he wasn't there for Victory of the Daleks. Of course, we get the Dalek in Big Bang, but that was just like a small piece of that story. That's not the focus of that episode.
Exactly. Okay, maybe it wasn't a valid question, but you know what? At least he asked it.
He had asked something, and I respect it. Oh, Rory. I'm gonna miss this man.
No, me too, because his looks in series like in 7A are so good.
So good. Yeah. It's a great time. Okay, they get connected with Oswin. They're able to talk to her from the ship that they're on. She says, the Doctor asks, do you know where you are? Do you know who's outside? Whatever. And she says, yeah, I know a Dalek when I hear one, which is a line I really like. I really like when we get bits and pieces into the rest of the universe and in the future. Like, oh yeah, people know the Daleks and yeah, they're terrified of them. That's really interesting to me. Let's see more of that. Not as much like Earth-contained Dalek stories where no one knows what they are, even though they've invaded like 75 times at this point.
I agree. And Oswin tells the Doctor, like, she's been down there a year. Like, she doesn't know how to get off. She's been trapped there. And she mentions she's been making soufflés. And 11 starts calling her soufflé girl in this episode, which soufflé girl on Tumblr seared into my mind made for the history books.
So many history making moments in this episode still to come.
So many.
But yeah, Soufflé Girl, like the amount of usernames that were Soufflé Girl, yeah, lots of Soufflé Girl things to come.
Yeah.
I love the running bit of the doctor being like, where do you get the milk? Like, where do you get the eggs? Like, how are you making souffles? And in a normal episode, you could kind of shrug it off, write it off as like, don't worry about it. This is Doctor Who. Like, they just have the milk, kids. Don't worry about it. But the fact that it actually does lead to something is really interesting. So this part's interesting. Basically, the Daleks are too afraid of their own asylum to go down and fix whatever is wrong. To be honest, I didn't really get this part, like why they have to go down there in the first place. I don't really care, I'll be honest. But the fact that they are too afraid of their own asylum is fascinating. And I love how they get like really quiet and really embarrassed about it.
Yeah, I love how they're so scared to like go down there themselves. How I understand, and also like I don't really care that much, but how I understood it is basically they were like, we're so scared to go down there because we don't know what will happen. So let's call up the doctor who is our biggest op. So two things happen. One, we can like deal with this planet once and for all, and two, we can get rid of the doctor finally, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I guess that probably was, an added bonus of their plan.
Yeah. Okay, so like they then go down the teleport, land on the planet. Amy and the doctor are separated from where Rory ends up. So there's like this random guy named Harvey. I don't know if he says his name, but that's what it said on the subtitles, saying like, "Hey girl, like what's up? Like other humans, yay." Do you recognize that actor?
No.
Are you sure?
Wait, I don't want to say that. But I did think when I was watching it, I did think, oh, he does kind of look familiar. He kind of looks like someone else. But who is he?
He plays Dennison in The Diplomat.
No.
Yeah.
Shut up. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Guys, if you're not watching The Diplomat, run to Netflix, start up your subscription, and go watch The Diplomat. And Pro Mackey's in it.
She is. Is she in season 2 or only season 1?
I think she's in 1 and 2, but not 3.
Oh, okay. Anyways, the show is so incredible, you guys. It's so incredible. And now there's a Doctor Who actor in that show, so you must go watch.
And there's an actor that was in Victoria with JENNA Coleman.
Oh my gosh, yes. Rufus Sewell. I don't know how to say his last name.
I have no idea the actor's name. I just know I love him.
No, I love him. He's been in like so many shows actually that I've watched, and I love him every time.
He's actually so good. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm trying to find my place because we skipped over not a lot, but some stuff.
We did?
Oh, okay. Yeah, just like nothing major. Just like they call the doctor the predator, and then where he's like, that is your thing, and the doctor's like, don't be afraid. Yeah, nothing like major.
Gotcha.
Amy saying Geronimo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we meet up with Harvey. We find out he was also on Starship Alaska, the same ship as Oswin, but he says he's only been there for like 3 days or something.
Yeah, he says 2 days, which is automatically suspicious because that's very different from 1 year. And he lures. That's what I believe, because that's what he did. He lures Amy and the doctor down into that ship to introduce them to the crew. Except guess what? The whole crew's dead. And they've been dead for a very long time. And I love this scene, actually. It's so creepy. And we've talked about this before, so I'll make it brief. But Stephen Moffat does a really good job in the show of adding horror elements. And this is another example.
Yes, I love these kind of horror-esque scenes where it's like, actually, they're all dead. And it's like, you've been talking to a skeleton. And I just love the moment where he's guys, like, guys, don't be rude, say something. And then it's like, oh, they're all dead. And I love the way the actor says, oh, I'm dead. Oh, I forgot about dying. Like, oh, that is scary.
And so creepy.
Mm-hmm. And then they're just being attacked by all these skeletons with Dalek eye sockets.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And we haven't talked about this, but they are wearing, in my notes I call them bracelets.
That's what I call them.
Okay, good. They're wearing these like bracelets that prevent them from becoming Daleks, essentially. But they take Amy's, and that shot of them like holding it up to mock them goes crazy.
No, what's so creepy?
So creepy. Meanwhile, Rory is separated because, of course, he went down like head first into this beam, this transport beam. Because of course he did.
Of course he did. And so he winds up in a room full of Daleks who were supposedly like dead. And what cracks me up is he's there. And I know I'm skipping over some things, but what cracks me up is that he is like investigating them, touching them. And then one of them like wakes up and starts saying, like about to say exterminate, but for some reason Rory thinks it's saying eggs.
No.
I'm like, I don't know where you got that, but it always fries me every time I watch this scene.
I know. It's so worried because of course he's trying to find reason in the Daleks. He's trying to find, they need something, but no. The only thing that they need is to exterminate you. Also, this episode gave birth to a like long running joke for the time. I can see like so many little comics. It gave birth to the like eggs stir min.
Yep.
Like there was like this baking meme with the Daleks. There was this comic. I can see it as clear as day. It's like the Dalek using eggs, and then it's like putting it in the oven for like min, and then it's like stir, like it's the whole thing. And this episode gave birth to that because of that moment right then, and then like also Oswin making souffles. Yes! Yes, that's it. If you're not watching video, Hailee just showed the comic. It's iconic. Love it. Shout out
Legendary.
To that person.
Love it so much.
Oh, going back to Amy and the Doctor, one moment I really like from Amy is when she says, "Is it bad that I missed this?"
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then we get Oswin, back in. She's talking to them in this moment. It's so crazy and fascinating to think about how we have an episode with all four of them. The 11th Doctor, Jenna Coleman, Amy and Rory. It's actually kind of mind-blowing to think about, and it's so fun. This is such an interesting episode to have it into because we never see them on screen together. Like they're interacting, but they're not. So it's just very fascinating. Like Amy is talking to, like, she's not talking to Clara, but she's talking to Clara here, and Clara's talking to Amy. Like that's mind-bending to think about, and like her and Rory are talking. It's so crazy.
So incredibly crazy to think about. You are absolutely correct with that one. And I always love how Oswin like helps save Rory. Like she helps him escape. She hacks into the system, opens the door for him to get away from these Daleks that are now coming after him, saying exterminate. And she is just like chatting and flirting with him, and she's like, flirting with you just to like make this a better experience, basically. And then she's like, I think I'm gonna call you Nina. And it's just really funny to me.
I do. I love it all. It is such a fun dynamic between all of them. It's very funny to watch. There's an interesting moment with the Doctor and Amy. He brings up, her and Rory, and he's like, what can I do? Like she tells him there's nothing he can do, and he's like, well, what can I do? Like he's so invested in them, in
Yeah.
their relationship. Like, he's already planning how he's gonna fix it. Like, that's part of this whole plan with the asylum. It's on the to-do list. And
Yeah.
I just think his sincere care for them and their relationship is so sweet.
It's really sweet. And Amy tells him that life happens. Her and Rory split. Life happens when Eleven's not there. And she also tells him that, like, you can't fix it like you fix your little bow tie, which is so. It's so funny that she says that because Loki 11 does push them back together in this episode.
He does.
um, but at the same time, like, I get where she's coming from. Like, she's really,
Yeah.
really hurting and speaking from a place of just like being very emotionally like raw. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like a really interesting kind of back and forth between them. And then because they took Amy's bracelet, she starts to feel the subtle effects of the nano cloud. I almost said nano genes, but basically, the nano cloud makes anything living or dead into like a Dalek puppet. So you subtract
Mm-hmm.
love, add all this anger, and so it starts messing with your mind first. So she's like forgetting she's had this conversation with 11 a couple of times about just like, so what's going to happen? And then they start walking down this hallway, and while he is like getting a map on a screen from Clark, nope, Oswin. First slip up, guys. I'm doing
Not, hey,
good.
not bad. We've done good.
We have. And she goes into this room, which she thinks is full of people, and it's so haunting.
It is. This scene is so creepy with the ballerina, and then just seeing it all from her perspective, and then seeing the real version of it with all the Daleks. So weird, so interesting.
Yeah. And there's just. Okay, well, 11 basically rage baits a Dalek, and the Dalek self destructs, and then he, like, sends the Dalek to destroy the other Dalek. So, like, there's big boom explosion. There is something about after that explosion, 11 carrying Amy. There's something about that visual.
There's something about it. Yeah, it really is powerful in that moment that he's able to get the Dalek to reverse and blow itself up and blow up the other Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they call him the Predator. Like, that right there. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. We kind of skipped over it, but earlier in the episode, they're talking about the Predator, and he's like, "You don't have a predator," and they're like, "Bro, it's you. You are the Predator." And he's like, "Me? What?" And then he does stuff like this, and it's like, "Oh yeah, that's why."
Yeah. Exactly.
I love how throughout the episode, when Amy is, being Amy, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, is she being Amy, or are the Daleks taking over?" Like, Oswin says, "Doesn't she seem a little too angry for you?" And Amy says, "Well, someone's never been to Scotland."
I love that so much.
Yeah. So we're reunited with Rory at this point, and basically we figure out, in order to leave, we got to go get Oswin. We're going to go rescue her, and then we're all going to leave the planet together. And I'm sure nothing bad is going to happen in between all that, and everything's going to go smoothly. So the doctor leaves Rory and Amy behind, of
He
course, part of the plan.
Yeah, right before he leaves them behind, Rory says, "Oh, so this is the kind of escape plan where you survive 4 seconds longer."
Yeah, because they have to, like, blow something up for them to,
Yeah.
the details of the plan, this episode, I don't really care.
Yeah, so 11 goes to find Oswin so they can like all go up together. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, leaves Amy and Rory in. What they needed all along was to be feeling the pressure of life or death in a time constraint, in a room with just the two of them, with no other distractions, to just talk. And this is where we get into the tea of the split.
Yes, and I think this is all really interesting. It is just kind of crazy to think, again, like I said at the beginning, they didn't need to get divorced. They didn't need to have this whole thing.
Yeah.
they just needed to have a 5-minute conversation and could have worked everything out. But you know what? I feel like that's very Amy and Rory. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Also, something I was thinking about, like, this is a couple that got married very young and they've gone through a
Yep.
lot. So, whatever. But, so Rory, this is a fascinating moment to me. Rory is like, look, hear me out. I'm going to give you my bracelet. He says, a fundamental fact, like a fundamental fact of our relationship is that I love you more than you love me. And we all know it. Everybody knows it. That is a crazy thing to say.
And it almost feels true.
Yeah,
It
first you on first watch, you're like, well, I kind of see where he's coming from. I would feel that
mm-hmm.
way too if I was him.
Exactly. But then Amy hits, well, she literally hits him. She
She
slaps him.
literally hits him. Yeah, she's like, don't you say that? That's not true. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then of course he brings up 2,000
The
years.
box.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd
Wait,
be bringing that up all the time.
I would be using that so much. It would actually be a genuine problem that I would be using it as a crutch. But he brings that up and she says, like, don't you dare say that. How can you say any of that? And then she goes into this kind of mini monologue, essentially, of telling him, you want kids. You have always wanted kids ever since you were a kid. And the way she says that always breaks my heart.
The way she delivers every line in the scene is seared into my brain. Like, I can, the way
Yeah.
she says, "You've always wanted kids since you were a kid." Like, the way her line
Yeah.
delivery is so good there. I can hear it so clearly.
Me too. And she tells him, and I can't have them. Whatever they did to me at Demon's Run, I can't ever give you children. I didn't kick you out. I gave you up. Don't you dare talk to me about waiting outside a box because that is nothing, Rory. Nothing compared to giving you up. And oh my gosh, like that is so emotional. And there's a few things here. The
Yes.
first thing I want to talk about, which I find really interesting, is her bringing up Demon's Run. As she should, because I feel like that's a fundamental point of conflict for the two of them. That is natural for any couple going through that. Like, of course, that's going to come up. I almost wish there was more associated with that because there's a lot more trauma that she has regarding Demon's Run besides what they did to her regarding her ability to have children.
I agree. This is what we were begging for all series 6B. Like, we wanted
Mm-hmm.
them to have this kind of conversation, any kind of emotional impact from Demon's Run. We also get new Demon's Run lore that they did something to her that basically made
Mm-hmm.
it impossible to have any more children in the future, which is very sad. And also, like,
Yeah.
when you think about their plan, it's like, why did they do that? Like, what was the point of that? Side note. But and Rory
Yeah.
just says, the way he says I know after she says that is so sad. He's like, I know that, like, that the way he author Darville
Mm-hmm.
delivers just those two words, it's so heartbreakingly sad. Like, he's like, I know that, like, that was never an issue for me, but she loved him so much, she was willing to give him up so he could have that dream, that, with kids and all that. But it is interesting that they add this new dynamic into this whole thing, that now she can't
Mm-hmm.
have kids. I feel like there was enough with the story that we had up to this point. There was enough there on its
Mm-hmm.
own to create conflict. Like we were saying
Yeah.
earlier in the episode, it could have been more about, like, the grief of losing a baby, and, like, the fact that they were separated for so long. She was flesh. Like, there's so many other angles they could have taken it, and yet they
Mm-hmm.
chose to do this one. And I feel like I can't really speak on it too much. Like, we're not at the stage where we are going through fertility things, or can really understand where Amy's coming from at this point. But it is, I don't know. What do you think about it?
Okay. Bear with me, guys, because I do have a couple of different points because Amy gets a lot of flack in this episode, and I really feel
Yes.
like it's not fair because one, are we not allowed to have complex female characters? And two, it's the way all of this was written. I feel like you can't really fault her for like this being the core issue of their conflict when there is genuinely more. It just wasn't written to pop
Mm-hmm.
up like within all of this. First off, like I've seen a couple of different theories over the years. This is kind of like a side note, is that A, either Amy was like completely sterilized against her will, or B, it was like something like a complication or the way they delivered the baby that caused her to not be
Mm.
able to have kids, or it was that technically she could still conceive, but there was just too much trauma, which I feel like that last one isn't as legitimate
Yeah,
because
I don't think that makes sense in the context of
I
this scene.
I don't either. But kind of going back to what I was going to say about Amy is like, first off, she was so traumatized throughout her whole life, and there's so much trauma associated with her baby. And so, of course, she's going to have all of this trauma wrapped around the concept of a kid. And I think there's just something, like you said, like we can't speak to it. We're not in that stage of life. But I can understand because the thought of just not being able to have, I don't know if traditional is the right word, but not being able to have a child is something that's really difficult as a concept
Yeah.
to grapple with. And it's really difficult to think of other people accepting that and not building resentment over time. And so I feel like Amy's response and like kicking Rory out, giving him up, was just a way to protect herself, to prevent that potential resentment from happening because she didn't want to
Mm.
feel like he was indebted to her. She didn't want to feel all of this built up friction between them because at the end of the day, like kids are a really big deciding factor in a lot of relationships moving forward
Yeah.
or like splitting up. So I think it just came from a lot of hurt and a lot of trauma. And she loved him so much that like love is not always rational.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And also, there's a lot of women that when they're struggling with infertility or whatever it is, they put that blame onto themselves. They're like, there's
Mm-hmm.
something wrong with me,
Yeah.
which in many cases, like, that's not true, like, at all. But it is
Yeah.
common for a lot of women do feel that way when they're going through fertility issues. So it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense for Amy, if she's feeling that way, she loves Rory so much that she feels like she has to let him go because they can't have kids, and in her mind that's her fault, which is really sad to think about, and
Mm-hmm.
to think about anyone having to go through that and thinking that way. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love just how she's talking to him and here, and she says, that is nothing. 2,000 years is nothing compared to having to give you up. That, and I love her performance here. I love her like crying through this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Such great acting from Karen. Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
Like we said, this scene is seared in both of our minds, and the way that Arthur and Karen delivered, they put so much
Mm-hmm.
into it, and that's what makes it as impactful as it has been for us. And I feel like it's a really good conversation starter to see this in like a show like Doctor Who. I like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this. I like the human aspect where there's like conflict like this. I think that's just showing the reality of life and that there's room for that in a show like Doctor Who without it taking over the entire show.
I also love seeing impacts of, this happened to them because of something that happened while they were traveling with the doctor. And I want to see more of
Yes.
that. Like people having to live with the consequences of something that happened because of the doctor, or because they are a companion, or something that happened on their journey. We need more of that. We need more of the real
Yeah.
human side of things.
Yeah,
Um
and I mean, we got like a tiny bit of it with
mhm.
our girl Ruby Sunday, like having some PTSD, like literally really struggling after like stopping traveling with the doctor. But I would just love to see it more in like different ways it shows up. And
I
yeah,
miss Ruby Sunday so much.
guys, it's actually so bad. Like she deserved. I'm stopping now. I'm stopping now
Jenna
because once I start, I can't stop.
fumbling Verada Sethu and Millie Gibson, like Russell T Davies, you will never sleep well at night. Like, how dare you? Sorry for the viewers. My bangs are just like not working with me today, so
I
we're having
still don't think
issues.
they look bad. I think you look great.
Thank you. Okay, and then we get the reveal that the doctor gave her his bracelet. He probably doesn't even need one because he's a Time Lord, so that's
Mm-hmm.
fun.
That is really fun. I like how they both just like roll their eyes basically. And then we see 11 and he is passing through the ICU, the Dalek ICU.
These are the Daleks that survived him.
Literally, what a baller line of him
Mm-hmm,
saying that.
mm-hmm.
That was so good. And just all of them waking up and also saying, that's weird. They never wake up for anything.
Of course, of course. Right? And he's like, well, it's a big day, a big visitor. Oh, so they start waking up and they start coming after
Mm-hmm.
him. I love how he's genuinely afraid of in this moment. I like seeing the doctor be afraid of the Daleks because it makes me afraid of the Daleks. You know, not screaming at Oswin, but he's like screaming at her to like open the doors or do something, you know, help him out of this. And what she does is she's able to hack into the hive mind. Ooh, I wonder how she's able to do that. We'll find out soon. She's
Mm.
able to hike. Oh my gosh, hack into the hive mind and erase the doctor from their memories. So they don't know him. They completely forget him.
The words that escape my mind when I'm thinking about this, because you're talking about a show at this point that was going into like its 50th anniversary, its 50th
Mm-hmm.
year as the show, basically. And the doctor's biggest op just had all of their memories erased about him. There is something actually insane about that. And I love that Stephen Moffat did it.
Yeah, me too. And the end is very fun, but we'll get
Mm-hmm.
there. So then finally he gets to Oswin, and before we even see anything, we just see Matt Smith's face, the doctor's reaction to, we don't know what he's looking at, but he's
Mm-hmm.
looking at something yet, and he just says, Oswin, we have a big problem. And Matt Smith's face in that moment is just so good. Like you can tell, oh shoot, okay, something is wrong. This is not good. This reveal, like, this messed me up. Like when I first watched this. This is so
Yeah.
mind warpy, so dark and twisted, so interesting, so fascinating. It's part of why I
Mm-hmm.
love this episode. So it's revealed that Oswin was a Dalek this whole time. She was turned into one after Starship
Mm-hmm.
Alaska because she is a genius. The Daleks need a genius. So it wasn't just a, puppet conversion, it was a full conversion. And this whole scenario, her in the ship, making the souffles, that was just the nice little lie, the nice little story that she told herself.
Mm-hmm. Because the truth was too terrible to bear. This twist
And
also still messes me up.
me too. And Jenna Coleman's, uh, for her first of many incredible performances, face performances, eye performances, just her face as the
Yes.
doctor's explaining, her mouth open, the tears coming down her face, heartbreaking. And she just like slowly starts saying exterminate because she's upset, she's angry at this realization, this news. It's insane. It's mind boggling. And, she's having to come to terms with that.
And we see just all of these flashes of Oswin inside the Dalek, like actually inside the Dalek with the gear attached to her head. And it's just such an incredible portrayal by Jenna Coleman, who just adds so much life into Oswin. And
Mm-hmm.
it just tugs at all of your heartstrings and ties into the reminder of just how cruel the Daleks are. We know
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, that's something we've always known. They're evil, they're awful. But to have this experience and watch this play out in this way in this episode, it just adds another level to just the total horror that the Daleks inflict on everything in their path.
Yeah, absolutely. We get some really great Nicholas Briggs voice acting. I really love the moment
Yeah.
where we hear the Daleks say, "They hate you. They hate you so much." The way Nicholas Briggs delivers that line is
Mm-hmm.
so interesting. I think about it all the time. I think it's one of his best voice acting moments, specifically as a Dalek. There's only so many emotions he gets to play with the Daleks, but that is such a unique one, and I think he plays it so well. And I love, that they gave him a chance to do something different.
I love that as well. And I really love the moment where she asks Eleven why they hate him so much. And Eleven says he fought many of them and it's hard to stop. And just that
Mm.
simple statement and moment of the doctor saying that, yeah, that is the reason the Daleks hate him, is because he's always going to fight them. He's never going to like back down.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he's
Yeah.
never going to back down. I'm like, did he back down at some point that I'm forgetting?
Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Who knows? We'll find out.
We'll find out. But it's an incredible moment. And she's a Dalek and she's upset and she's getting out from these chains. And you just know, like, the Daleks want to incinerate this planet. You
Hmm.
know, she's not going to survive. And she ultimately realizes that. But still, she tells the doctor because she's still that genius. She still, even though she's a Dalek, somehow, some way, she still has that tiny bit of human left in her.
Hmm.
She tells the doctor to run.
She says, "Run, you clever boy, and remember." And then she looks to camera, and history
Right?
was made.
Lives were changed. The internet was never the same. Tumblr and Instagram taken over. Even if you were not a Whovian, you saw this. This
Hmm.
like entered, I fear it entered like like the general population.
I don't even know, but not to get too into like where this goes, but what "Run, you clever boy, and remember me" ends up meaning, I'm obsessed with. I
Ooh.
so fascinating.
Yeah, like I said, lives were changed.
Hmm.
And Amy and Rory are back together, y'all. They made up.
Yes, they're doing that classic. They did the same thing in The Big Bang. The doctor's like, "We gotta go," and they're just,
Hmm.
full out makeout sesh, which I'll allow it. Post
Yeah,
divorce, they need it.
they need it.
And then we go back to the Parliament of the Daleks, and something interesting. Well, first they like are able to get back inside the TARDIS. That's
Hmm.
fun, but it's revealed none of them know who he is. Oswin managed to erase the Doctor from all the Daleks.
So
It's dropped. You have to drop it for the sake of the show, and storylines with the Daleks. You just have to. But it's a fun ending for sure.
It's such a fun ending. I do have one last question for you for this episode. What are your thoughts on Amy or Rory not living on the TARDIS full time anymore?
I know it always makes me sad when companions
Yeah.
aren't in the TARDIS full time, and it especially makes me sad in this series 7A. Like, it always bums
Yeah.
me when they're like, we got to go back home. It's like, but why? Just stay. But I think it makes sense in this series as well. Like, their lives are complicated. They do have lives back home. You know, Amy's got her modeling job apparently. Who knows what Rory's up to? They have lives, and we're gonna see more of that in episodes to come. And we also have to remember they were on Earth completely without the Doctor for at least 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
in the time that they quote unquote thought he was dead, but they knew he wasn't. So they had to move on with their lives. They had to
Yeah.
move forward, be normal, have normal human lives. So it makes sense that things are a bit more complicated for them and that they can't stay on the TARDIS like they used to.
Yeah. I agree with you. It does also make me sad though.
I do think it especially makes sense in this episode because they're, fresh off of the brink of
Yeah.
remorse. They got to go home. They got to like figure some stuff out. I
Yeah.
love Rory's little like celebration with himself when they're about to go inside.
I
Very
love
funny.
it. So funny.
Who is the star of the show?
Oswin. We all knew it.
Asylum.
Soufflé girl.
Yeah. Souffle girl. R.I.P. Maybe.
Yeah. What is
Yeah.
the heart of this episode?
Oh, what is the heart? Something about love being stronger than hate. Because,
Yeah.
think about Amy's knuckles in the beginning, love, hate, blah, blah, blah. And then that being kind of like a big
Yeah.
theme of the episode. Definitely, you get it.
Yeah. I get it. I get it.
Do we have any reviews from the past?
Yes, we do. And I'm actually excited because some of these first ones are from Reddit and they're not so much reviews as like more initial reactions from the original discussion thread. There's
Ooh.
two specific ones that stuck out, and these are both from the Gallifrey subreddit. So, something that was like a concern for multiple people was actually the fact that the Daleks forgot about the Doctor, and they were like, well, how is this supposed to work? So, someone by the username of DAHUD said, could someone more learned in Who lore comment on the implications of the Daleks with their anti-Doctor war machine culture suddenly forgetting that the Doctor exists at all? And then the subreddit user Indolnurk said, the central core of the Dalek mind has been hatred of anything that is not Dalek, rather than fighting the Doctor in particular. I think they will still keep doing that, but the interactions with the Doctor will be different, though.
It is funny. I do think if I saw this back in 2012, I would also have the same concerns. Like, oh, what does this mean? But it is funny looking in hindsight and
Mm-hmm.
knowing we really didn't have to worry about it because this was never going to come up again.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just thought that was like really funny. And there's
Mm-hmm.
a comment. Now, they reference a classic Doctor Who storyline slash character, so I don't know all the lore, but I can read in between the lines of what's connecting. So this is also on the Gallifrey subreddit, and the user is not underscore Nathan, and they said, crazy theory. What if Oswin is splintered in time, Scaroth style, and this is only one of the many ends to what she comes? And as proof, this was written 13 years ago.
That's actually crazy. Okay, not Nathan. I see you.
Yeah. You do also have to remember is at the time this episode aired, Jenna Coleman was already announced as the companion.
Yes.
So the one-off, like, supposed alleged one-off appearance of her in this episode was a surprise to the
It
fans.
was, yeah. And people didn't know. I mean, hey, if you were around in 2012, let us know.
Yeah,
But people, from my understanding, didn't know. They didn't know if this was like, is this a mystery? Is this like going to be part of her character, or is this like Freema appearing in Doomsday kind of
right.
situation?
Exactly. So I just thought those comments were interesting. But
Mm-hmm.
now, moving on to IMDb, our fave.
Oh, can't wait.
So this first review is by the user Sarah-Feather, written on May 1st, 2013. And they wrote that this is a weak story full of plot holes.
Boo.
Some of the things they mention in the review is that the basic plot concerns a parliament of frightened Daleks who ask the Doctor to switch on a force field located inside the Dalek Asylum. Straight away, we have a plot hole. Why is there a Dalek parliament and a prime minister? Since when do the Daleks care about democracy? They are fascists and are convinced they are the master race. Why is the force field switch on the asylum and not on the main Dalek spaceship where they can easily reach it? Who knows, because these questions were never answered.
Yeah, there's also that whole thing. You can only turn off the force field from inside the asylum.
Yeah,
That's, I do think it is funny the concept of the Daleks having a parliament, like they have a form of
yeah,
government. Do they disagree? Are they having debates?
yeah,
Very funny to think about, but it doesn't. I'm not upset about it. Like it's not. I'm
me
not watching
either.
this and thinking, oh, the plot holes. Like, oh no.
Yeah, they also continue by saying, we're also introduced to Oswin, a super hacker who can hack the Dalek hive mind. They've never had a hive mind before, but for this story, they do. Oswin helps the
Haven't
Doctor
they
and
have
compete.
a had hive mind before? I feel like they have.
They probably have. And even Eleven and Oswin are, when they're talking about it in this episode, it's like not even like a hive mind technically. It's more of like a telepathic web sort of deal.
I feel like that's definitely been mentioned before, and even if it
Yeah.
hasn't, it's very believable that they would have something like that.
Yeah. And so just skipping down in this review, they mentioned that the subplot about Amy and Rory getting divorced is so contrived it's not even worth talking about and has no bearing on any subsequent episodes. And going to the end of the review, they say, in conclusion, not very much happens. The Doctor bumbles about like a senile hipster, even using his sonic screwdriver to check if a skeleton in a spacesuit is dead. Yes, really. Sad face.
Okay, you got them there. You got them on
that
that one.
that line kind of did eat.
Yeah. Okay. On one hand, with the Amy and Warrior of it all, I am glad it's self-contained to this, and it's not like, oh, they're fighting
Yeah.
in the rest of the episodes. But it would be nice if we have some kind of like hint in future episodes, like, hey, this is
Mm-hmm.
them still like coming back together, like they're still like any couple working through whatever it
Yeah.
is that they're working through. They've obviously spent some time apart. Also, divorce is a long time. Divorce is a long process, even if you are divorcing on good terms and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
um so they were going through that whole separation thing for a good chunk of time.
They were like, I don't know how fast divorces move in the UK, but here in the US, it's very dependent on the state, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So that part is very interesting. But moving on to the last review, it is by the user Allison 465 684768, and she wrote on September 1st, 2012.
Wow.
I know. No spoilers, but an honest review. I really had personal doubts as to whether I wanted to continue watching Doctor Who when I saw that Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill were being pushed out of the show, so I felt.
I don't think they were being pushed out, but okay.
Yeah.
I think.
They continue and say, all I can say to anyone who reads this and hasn't watched this episode yet, don't miss it. It really is brilliant, and I am so glad that I gave it a chance. It was exciting after a somewhat startling beginning, interesting writing, and a lovely twist. I shall be interested to see how the writers develop the plots of the next few weeks, but personally, I will miss both Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill and the contribution they have made to Doctor Who.
Ugh, you guys, like the fact that we are
Right.
here on their goodbye tour essentially is really hard. Kind
I'm
of
not
hate it, not gonna lie.
ready.
No.
It
The
feels like
concept of us watching and talking about Angels Take Manhattan in a few weeks, insane.
insane. I can't deal with it right now. So right now, we are still with the puns. We are still with 11. And that's where we're at. And next week, we'll talk about the more going on a spaceship with dinosaurs.
We sure will. But until then, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Timey Wimey Pod.
And email us anything and everything, including your thoughts on Series 7, your thoughts on the 50th anniversary. Send those in now. We would love to hear your thoughts so we can read them out on the podcast episode when we're covering Day of the Doctor later this year. And yeah, send that all to timewimeypod@gmail.com.
I cannot believe we're so close to the 50th. I'm so excited.
So unbelievably excited. And with that, we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.